oxide. I'm going to do it for another 5 minutes. I'm going to do that 3 times so that the face has a total of 15 minutes with the one side on top and the other side on bottom. Then I'm going to take the one that's on top, turn it upside down, put it on the bottom, and take the one I haven't been working on yet, and I'm going to put that one on top, and I'm going to use that to grind against the one that had previously been on top. So now by the time that's done, the first tool has had 30 minutes of glass over glass time grinding, and then I'm going to take the one that was on top the second time, turn that over, put it on the bottom, and take the one that was on bottom the first time and grind those two together with aluminum oxide for 15 minutes. So that's a total of 3 iterations of 15 minutes each, and when you work out the math, you'll find that each face has had a total of 30 minutes of grinding. Pretty neat. And then I'm going to go and reverse the order and do it again, so that when I'm done, each face will have had 30 minutes on top, 30 minutes on bottom, and as you may or may not know, when you grind 2 pieces of glass together, the top tends to become concave, the bottom tends to become convex. So if you're doing 30 minutes on top and 30 minutes on bottom, the two should theoretically, and in fact do actually, even out, and you end up with flat surfaces. And when you test each surface against the other, you will find that they're flat. We measure that by looking at Newton fringes through an interferometer that can be made at home fairly easily using a monochromatic light source. Not a big deal to make it, and we'll be getting into that at a later date. So right now, I'm going to go feed the cat, and then I'm going to come back and talk a little bit more. With all these iterations grinding flats, it can become pretty complicated. I strongly recommend that you keep a log, keep a written log as to where you are, what you've done. It doesn't have to be very complex. State the process you did, A on B. How many wets you did, 3 wets. For how long? And if you want to keep the date, keep the date. But doing that alone will keep you from getting confused as to where you are. And if you get confused, you may have to go back to the beginning and start all over again with that particular grade of abrasive. And you may have ground one side too much, resulting in a non-flat surface, and it can just turn into a mess. But if you just keep a log, you'll know where you are, you can refer back to it, and resume grinding where you had left off previously. Logs are very important. Right now, I'm going to take my glass, and my glass is actually marked in a different manner. It's marked AD. This glass is E, and the B side is down. I've already ground the B side. And the C one is C and F. I do that so that I'll remember where I am. I've already washed these glasses, this glass off. Any time that you finish working for a period of time, you're going to put the glass away. It's a good idea just to clean it off. Otherwise, the swarf, which is the waste from grinding, the aluminum oxide waste from grinding, and the glass that may have accumulated in there, you know, it may tend to stain the glass, and you really don't want the glass to be stained. If it is, it's not the end of the world, but it's just something that if you can avoid, it's nice to avoid. It'll save you a little elbow grease down the road. So here I am. I've got my D side, which has been ground so far through 9 micron My east side is facing up. I've cleaned them off very well, so there's no 9-micron abrasive anywhere in sight. And I'm going to, in a moment, take my aluminum oxide, which I put into a little bottle that I purchased from Edmund Scientific. I bought a dozen of these. You saw them earlier on the shelf when I was showing you my workshop and my setup. I bought a dozen of these for a little under $8 plus shipping. Edmund Scientific is really a great resource. They've been around for a long time, since the mid-40s, I believe, when Mr. Edmund's father started a World War II Army, Navy, military surplus store, as many businesses started, immediately after World War II. And he has been selling, and they have been selling these materials for a long time that are useful to people that are involved in science and science teachers and teachers in general and amateur astronomers. They've had a heavy concentration on. They've somewhat backed off that concentration, but they're still a wonderful resource, and this bottle is a great bottle. That being said, I should also say that I bought the aluminum oxide from a variety of sources. Edmunds never did sell aluminum oxide to my recollection, but I bought my aluminum oxide either from Wilman Bell, Perry Ramacoulis, or possibly from Tom Moulton, who is at gotgrit.com. Something that's important to have is a clock. You want to know how long you've been working, and you want to keep track, because it's important to go for a specific period of time and really not to exceed that time and really not to go under that time, but try to keep it fairly accurate. A telescope maker friend of mine who was a professional telescope maker, professional optics maker named Bob Goff, at one time worked for Celestron, had a shop in Tucson, and he used to go around with stopwatches around his neck in his optical shop to keep track of the various projects that he was working on and how long they had been grinding. If you go too long, you could ruin an expensive piece of glass, something Bob didn't do. He was a very, very good optician. He's passed away in December of 2001. Right now what I'm going to do, and I'll be talking as I'm doing this, I'm just taking a look at the glass. Everything seems to be okay. I'm going to shake up the aluminum oxide so it mixes up real well. Take the cap off, squirt a bit on the surface that's operating as the tool. They're really both pieces. There's no tool here. I'm then going to take the piece of glass that I'm working on, put the D side on top of the E side, and I'm going to begin grinding, fine grinding, with 5-micron aluminum oxide. What I do when I grind, everybody has their own methods of doing it, but what I do is I do pretty gentle strokes, center over center, about 1/3 of the diameter overhang on each side. Now there's a problem with parallax, and usually you'll overhang a little bit too far one side or the other. It's just the way the parallax works. Excuse my back, but you're going to be seeing my back as I do this. And as I do this, I go 3 strokes, and then I take a small step around the barrel. Every 3 strokes, in addition to taking a small step around the barrel, I turn the glass ever so slightly, maybe a 1/16 to 1/8 of a turn, somewhere in that neighborhood, the opposite direction. So if I'm walking clockwise around the barrel, then I'm going to be turning the glass counterclockwise. Don't do anything too fast, just take it easy. I'm not going to make a lot of progress doing this. The key is not to make all the progress at once. The key is to make very good progress over a long period of time. Nothing that happens in an optics shop happens fast. Anything that happens, well, anything good that happens in an optics shop happens slowly. Anything that happens fast in an optics shop is probably not good. So you just take it easy, walk around the barrel, Today is August 25th, 2007. I started this at 2:03, and I'm going to keep doing this until the clock strikes 2:08. When the clock strikes 2:08, I'm going to stop, recharge the grit, and do it again. Also, I don't put very much pressure on the back of the mirror. I take it pretty easy.